Joining me now, Akin, Gump, Strauss, Hauer, and Feld partner, former National Council, Economic Council Deputy Director Clete Willems. Clete, what did you make of the stance of President Biden on China at the G7? It was weak, wasn't it?
Well, I think the outcomes that the president was able to get were much less than he would have wanted. And I think, as you alluded to, there was a lot of language in there on China. There was language in there condemning them for forced labor in Xinjiang. There was language related to the origins of COVID and calling for an investigation. But, you know, again, we've got the WHO doing the investigation, and so I question whether that's really going to turn up any different results, whether it's going to make any more progress. And on forced labor, for example, there weren't really hard commitments that were included in the G7 statement. So I want to credit the administration. I want to credit the president for raising the right issues. But so far, it's unclear whether the follow-through is really going to yield the results that we'd like to see.
Well, the World Health Organization team that went into China in the first place to investigate it included people who had conflicts of interest in terms of, involved in funding in the Wuhan virology lab. Number one, they came back with not having access to the key data and records from in the early days of the virus. They didn't have that, and they came back with an assessment that said it was more likely that the virus was imported into China in frozen food than a leak from the virology lab. So why would a second part of this investigation, if the World Health Organization is involved, why would it yield anything different than that, which was garbage?
Right. And that's the exact problem, is we are very focused in the statement and the G7 leaders statement on doing things in a multilateral way. And that's not always a bad thing, but it is a bad thing when those multilateral institutions have failed us. And the WHO is a primary example of this. And like I said, I just don't think that's going to yield a different result. And so I think we got to be clear-eyed about this and say, again, we're glad you're raising these themes. We're glad you're getting the international community focused on these things, but we actually need concrete action that's going to make a difference. And I don't see this on this issue.
Yeah, the nice words in the G7 communique aren't, it's the talk, not the walk, if you will. China enacting a new law aimed at countering foreign sanctions. This in response to increased pressure from the U.S. and Europe on issues and you mentioned these, human rights, trade, technology. What do you make of what China's doing, these kind of anti-foreign sanctions, the law there?
Well, it's disappointing. It's disappointing that they don't recognize that the international community is condemning them for things that they are doing that are completely out of step with international norms. And again, what's going on in Xinjiang with human rights is appalling. And when the international community calls them out, what you'd like to see China do is to actually change its behavior. But what they typically do, and the reason I'm not surprised, is they double down and then go after the folks who are raising these legitimate questions. And you had an example where they did a similar action earlier this year when Europe and the United States acted together to sanction them for what was going on in Xinjiang. They turned around and sanctioned European members of parliament. And as a result of that, they basically killed this investment deal that was going to take place between the Europeans and China. And so what you see here with this anti-sanctions law is just another example where China doesn't recognize that they are out of step with international norms and that they're getting called out for it, and that the appropriate response would be to change that behavior. Instead, they just attack those who raise these legitimate questions. And so, again, it's not surprising, but it is troubling.
Angela Morabito has a quick question, Clete.
Yeah, hi, Clete. So we know that China is watching closely what is going on at NATO this week. And look, if we look what happened this past weekend, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence that the alpha, the pack leader, was the 95-year-old Queen of England. I mean, on the one hand, good for her. On the other hand, it's a little frightening, right? Now I'm concerned about how we think Biden sets a different tone here and how the rest of the world's going to react to that. Then President Trump secured $2 billion in more, oil purchases from Europe. He got European countries to step up. Biden is sending more money to Europe, and he says, you know, Putin gets his Nord Stream 2 pipeline, but, you know, Canada and the U.S. don't get theirs. So despite this strong statement on China, talk is cheap. Do you think NATO and do you think the G7 are really going to back this up with some significant action, or is this mostly about posturing?
It's hard to say at this point. At this point, what we can say is that the focus is there, the issues are there, but the hard commitments are not. And that was really a theme in this G7 statement where you were calling out the right actions, but the Biden team wanted concrete action on forced labor. They didn't get that. They wanted concrete action in other areas and other objectives that they have like climate, and they didn't get that. So I think the jury is out on whether more backslapping and saying things in a nice way is going to get better results. And if you look at NATO, you're going to see a very similar issue. And if, as you will recall, President Trump was roundly criticized for asking NATO members to pay more for their own defense. But if you saw what the White House said yesterday, that's one of the top items on their agenda, is effective burden sharing. And the question I have is coming in there with a little bit of a different tone going to actually get them to pony up the dollars that they need to? And I hope so. And I do think sometimes, a constructive tone can be useful, but you also got to call your friends out and ask them to do the things you're asking, to really show that they mean it. And so, again, I'm just going to say right now the jury's out.
Clete, great of you to be here this morning. Thank you so much. Clete Willems.